Hey, good morning, and welcome to episode 89 of Talking to Artists. So super excited to have you here, and I do apologize. I didn't do a lot of promotion for this one, not because it's not going to be awesome, but because we've been so busy preparing for the Pie Art Squared show, which you can see some of it behind me. So very excited to be participating in that. And so today we are actually going to be talking to Leslie Starr, who is one of our pie artists from Calgary. So super excited to learn all about her. And she basically is really inspired by color and whimsy and surprise, which you can really see in her pieces that are behind me. So I'm going to go right on and invite Leslie to start the session. And hoping everybody can join us for Pie Art Squared, which opens tomorrow at Art Alchemy. Hey!
How are you? Morning.
I'm great. How are you? Can you still see your pieces? I actually am doing the interview from my studio.
Right here.
Yeah, they look great, huh? Here, I'll just do a bit of a scroll here. So we have 2 of the 5 here.
Yes.
Yeah.
I got the rest of them right here. So yeah, I'm.
Oh, behind you. That's great.
I did.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, it's really coming along well. Like it's. I kind of said we wanted to have it kind of a surprise in the studio, and it's so hard to keep it a surprise because it looks so great. We've got about 120 pieces on the wall here.
Wow.
So we'll have our opening tonight. We have an in-person preview, tomorrow from 3 till 7, and then the opening and the store opens at 7 Eastern Standard Time. So
exciting. So
I know.
A bunch of friends are coming down to actually go into the gallery there. So yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, you're going to have a full house, I think.
It's so funny because we don't really know, right? Like it's kind of because Toronto has been so locked down for so long, and I've been at the cottage too, so I haven't really been right on top of it. And so it's sort of been interesting. It's like, well, we could have like dribbles of people all day because they're uncomfortable, or it could just be like, oh, screw it, I just need to go and have a social.
I think it's the latter for a lot of people. Yeah. They're ready, right?
I think so too.
Yeah. I know.
Yeah. Unfortunately, no wine. That'll be the next one.
The where? Sorry?
No wine, because we can't really, everybody has to wear masks, so we can't really drink and eat and stuff yet. I know. But, and the irony, of course, is if it was next weekend, we could have wine.
Oh, isn't that funny? Yeah. Well, that's okay. It'll come stuff, right? Yeah.
I think so, yeah. Yeah. Baby steps, although this one feels like a giant leap. So I'm pretty excited.
That's excellent.
So I was really, one of the things that really actually amazed me about the Pie Art Square this year is, I can't say I did a fabulous job calling for submissions, but, we got submissions from all across the country, which is really great, including a chunk from Calgary. So your neck of the woods. So I'm super happy about that. And some really interesting art that I hadn't seen before and new artists that I'm really looking forward to meeting. So, but I understand that you originally were an Ontarian that moved out to Calgary.
We've been here for 30 years now. So kind of now have to call myself a Calgarian because I've been out here longer than what I was in Ontario. So, but I'm born and raised, shout out to Ontario people. I love it. Yeah. And we went and visited last year, and it's just a totally different thing. It's kind of like you sacrifice the lakes and then you get the mountains. So, it's still, our country is so beautiful. You can just go anywhere and just fall in love with it. So
I know. Sometimes it's amazing when you travel to a different part. Like I find that when I visit my sister in Comox, when you have those huge mossy trees and the smell is just so different from it is in Ontario, and it's remarkable. It's still the same country.
I know, right? We've been tossing around the idea of going right to the East Coast. And that is one thing. I traveled there when I was very young in the back seat of a car with my parents, and the memories are still really very vivid. So my husband was talking about going back there and doing a vacation out there. So yeah. And that's, again, a totally different part of the country that you get a totally different feel and smell and, that tactile kind of, Yeah,
well, and you can really see it, seeing the art coming in too, because it's even if it's not traditional landscape, there's a different color palette that I find a lot of the artists out west use versus the artists that are in Toronto.
Oh, that's I know.
Yeah, and it's
That
it's
kind of
I
thing.
don't know, it's just really cool.
That's neat. Yeah. Well, we've got quite a network here with Mastrius. So once we hear of a show like yourself, we kind of put it all out there, and we just, the people that are ready, they will apply. And so that's why you're getting this kind of new um, taste of a different part of the country. Yeah. It's
And so is Mastrius what used to be Leveling Up?
yes, that's the new.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
And us.
No, it's a good name. I just wanted to make sure because I wanted to talk about leveling up and kind of because I see a lot of the artists that are based, especially in Calgary, where I guess where Julie is, where it's
Yep.
kind of started,
Yep.
are really a part of that community. So maybe you talk a little bit about why you decided to kind of work with a mentor and what you kind of get out of it, and why you feel it's important for artists.
Um, well, I think for me, it was kind of great timing. Um, COVID hit. We were all in lockdown, and Julia, I think it was in September. I could have the dates wrong, but in September, she and her husband had decided that they wanted to kind of reach out to the artist community, because she is one of them, and start this leveling up mentoring group. Um, and I happened to follow Julie, so I saw her starting to make posts about it, and I just, you dive right in, and I was ready. I just felt that it was perfect timing. I was ready to take my art to the next level. Um, I've always been a creative for a very long time, kind of dabbling in everything. I've painted on glass. Um, I even painted like for interior design. I did murals. I've done everything. But when I transferred and decided to go with my acrylic and go to canvases, that was when I really I think I felt at home. And then I saw Julie's post, and I thought, okay, for me to actually take it to that next level that I was dreaming about, that's what I need. I needed to kind of build my confidence in it too. And so to
Mm-hmm.
have a mentor, have somebody with experience, and being able to have um, that contact and connection with them and their guidance. Um,
And I understand that what mentors, what's it called now? The
I'm
leveling up.
Mastrius. Yep. Yep.
Mastrius, sorry. I
Oh, good.
understand Mastrius also has a number of different mentors, like some are within creating the work and the body of work and finding your voice within the art. And then the other part is around more the business of art in terms of
Yep.
once now you've got your body of work, how do you kind of work forwards with it?
Yeah.
And so with your mentor, is it one or the other, or did they kind of cross over or?
I have been with, oh no, now I got to count. I think I've been with 5 mentors. Like Doug Swinton, he focuses mainly on your art, and he critiques your art. I was with Veronica Funk, and she was really into the business side of it and promoted self-promotion. Julia Veenstra, she did the whole gamut. Like, she really was focusing on the business side, and she was my first mentor. Learned a ton from all of them. They all have their own specialty. Currently, I'm with Anita McComas and Robert Burridge. Um, Anita is definitely kind of, I'm learning a lot from her, because her art is very similar to mine, I guess, kind of. I'm very, yeah, and I'm just learning so much from her. And Bob Burridge, he and his wife are very supportive in the business side. And there's a group of us that we're actually thinking of putting together kind of an online gallery for ourselves. So yeah, it's whatever you choose. And that's the beauty of Mastrius. You can actually go through and find the master that fits your needs, and
Mm-hmm.
where you feel that you need the most support and the most knowledge. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's really important because I do think it's one of the things. Well, a lot of artists are creative when they're kids, and then they're sort of end up being self-taught, which means that I mean I'm sure that you can get to the end eventually, but it's nicer to have I think a mentor or someone to kind of help you guide you along the way.
Well,
You
it's
know.
funny, when I was younger, I mean, that was not something that you made a living at. it wasn't something that you
Yeah.
actually could consider surviving on. It was a hobby, right?
Yeah. Well, I think it's either a hobby or else it's, because my sister and I, of course, are both artists, but it's kind of one of those things too, where I think that even if it's not a hobby, it's just a natural expectation that you're not going to make any money at it. So you have to do something else to support yourself. And I think that's just so, I mean, I've said it so many times on this podcast because it's my own pet peeve that there's not a better business program that is incorporated within the fine arts programs, because there is such an importance. I mean, you can create beautiful work, but if nobody sees it and nobody buys it, then ultimately you cannot spend all your time painting.
Exactly.
Because you can't afford to, right?
Exactly. But we do live in a different world now. So that's why I'm thinking it's perfect timing. We have the social media to get our work out there. Now it is a lot of work. And, when you look at that pie chart, how much time you actually spend painting is very small. And all the rest of it is the promoting and book work, it's just running your own business, really.
But the reality is, isn't that the part of every business? Like I ran a marketing firm for many years and I loved a huge chunk of it. And there's a whole chunk of it that I didn't really love to do. Like nobody loves doing your HST returns, let's be honest, right? That's just part of what you have to do to make the business work, right? So I don't know why it is that artists feel that their business should somehow be different than 99% of the other businesses that are out there, right?
Yeah. I'm learning a lot of that. Yeah. And I'm ignoring a lot, which I shouldn't be doing. Like all that paperwork. I'll get it tomorrow. Yeah.
I know. I started doing this thing where I used to be every Thursday morning, which maybe psychologically is why I put talking to artists on Thursday mornings, because that used to be my accounting and paperwork. So I would block out 3 days or 3 hours on Thursday. So if it came up during the week, I didn't even have to think about it because I knew I had a dedicated time for it, which I need to now find a different time because obviously Thursday morning doesn't work anymore.
Yes.
But it does help to kind of just chip away at some of that stuff. And I find it's less the actual physical working on it, and it's more the emotional burden of knowing you should be working on it that weighs you down.
And you're very disciplined doing it, and that's what I can say about myself. I'm not very disciplined at doing that yet. I'm a procrastinator. I know I am. I leave it to the last minute. Sometimes I produce my best work when I do that, but it's very simple.
Yeah. I'll let you know in April how I'm doing on that one.
Right.
Yeah. And so where did this sort of the whimsy and the cows and the barns and stuff kind of come from? Is that's what you're surrounded by, or there's just something you've had this emotional connection to cows, or what's the deal with that?
Always painted animals. I've always sketched animals. I used to do pen and ink, a little bit of pastel, and it's always been that's always been my subject matter. And so when I first started painting, I was doing barns and a lot of grain elevators and granaries and all the stuff that was in the area. I tried doing landscapes, and I just couldn't get that good rhythm. And of course, scrolling through Instagram, I found the cutest cow. She was down in the States, and I reached out to the owner and I said, would you mind if I painted her? Her name was Delilah. And she said, go ahead. No. And she was the start of it. The painting it just came together. I had that painting probably done within a short period of time. It just flew off the brush. When one of those paintings that it just clicks, and that painting. And then from that point on, it was just, I knew it had to be animal portraits and the close-up. Like I like doing the close-up. To me, it's like a landscape. The face is a landscape. So that's where I get the satisfaction of. And
it's pretty wonderful. It's pretty wonderful when you have that epiphany moment that you can actually remember when in your art career it took a huge change, and that change is so important to where you are now. Like I find the same thing. I can still remember that exact time when I kind of discovered abstract work and the palette knife, and it was just, I still get goosebumps because it's like, oh my God, I found my calling. I didn't know this is what I was supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
And I've been farting around with a whole bunch of other stuff, but now I feel good.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I'm hoping, I'm hoping it carries forward. I know landscapes are the things that sell.
In Calgary,
Yeah,
like to me, it's very interesting that regionally this country has such different art tastes that are very regionally based.
that's true. That is very true. I gotta keep it that open-minded kind of thought process, because I sometimes close myself down and limit what I can do. I do have other ideas of how I can kind of incorporate landscape into my work a little bit with the style that I'm doing. So yeah, that's that sometime this year when I get to it, I'm hoping that I can get,
After your paperwork, right?
yeah. Yeah, after the paperwork. Oh, thanks for reminding me, Kate.
Sorry, I'm just kidding. No, but I do think it's really it is interesting how the impact of maybe it's the landscape, maybe it's the painting culture, maybe it's the other artists that you're surrounded by, definitely has an influence on the work that you do. And
Yes.
like I know for myself, I know a number of abstract artists in Calgary that have a much harder time making a living at it, just because it does Calgarians and just typically tend to maybe gear towards more or more of the mountains and representational and the things that they're surrounded by. Same thing with Vancouver. I'd love to do more shows in Vancouver, but as an abstract artist, I just don't really find as many people who like the work, right?
Yeah.
Whereas Toronto, it's first of all, it's bigger, but it's also just maybe because it's a mixing pot of so many different people and cultures and stuff. There tends to be more interest in abstract.
Yeah, you have a broader audience, right?
Yeah.
I do find that here in Calgary, the art culture is not as, I don't know, it's not as readily available as it is kind of in Ontario. We went back last year, and like just these little pop-up shows that you could travel
Sorry.
from garage to garage, that people would have like their own little, you could do a tour.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing like that here, which is very sad. And hopefully that changes. I
It's
know.
also the geography of the city, though, right? I mean, Calgary is much more spread out, and so it's much harder to do let's do, like I'm involved in somewhere, it's just like, a couple of blocks, but within that couple of blocks, you have like 30 or 40 artists.
Yes.
So that works because people can walk through that stuff. Once you have larger distances, and so the geography of the city definitely has an impact on that. It's much more challenging to put that together.
It does. It might be a little bit different now that we got the ring roads closed, because it had, or open, pardon me. It brings the city closer together. Do you know what I mean? Like you what used to take you 45 minutes now can take you 20.
Right. Yeah.
Things are a little bit more accessible. So
Well, maybe that's something you need to start, the Calgary Art Tour.
exactly. Anyway, I don't know what else to say about that.
Yeah.
I hope.
No, I was actually just gonna. Normally I start with what kind of your journey was, because I think you're saying you were always a doodler and doodled on walls, and I'm sure like a lot of us artists doodle on your jeans and whatever else was available.
Yes.
So, and then worked on glass, which is kind of interesting, I guess, for quite a long time.
I did that I was trying to actually pinpoint it. It's funny. I want to say it was about, it kind of drizzled out at the end. I got into a car accident, so I couldn't actually paint as much as I could. The time, like, it was all down with my neck, my chin here, and I was painting on flat, and it just, my fingers would go numb and they'd start tingling. So I had to actually kind of give that up. But it was probably a 13 to 15 year process. Yeah, I was doing it for quite a bit. Like I was doing, I brought one piece up here. I don't know whether you can see it.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Yeah, that's what I used to paint on. Like that's what I.
Oh, those are cool.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It's paint. It's called Pebeo paint, and I used to bake it onto the glass. And I was in the art market downtown for many years, and same with Spruce Meadows. Yeah. So I have kind of that background experience a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I incorporated both the glass and the canvas, probably my last couple shows. And then I needed to take a break, and just kind of figure out where I was going to go with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's easier, I think, as an artist too, if you have a brand that's clean versus scattered with a whole bunch of different things that you do, right?
Yeah.
Unless you love doing all those things and you have to figure out how to work it in. But
Yeah.
I think sometimes too, it's a sign that you're ready to leave something behind and move on to something different.
It was kind of sad. It was bittersweet for sure. It was something I had known for so long, and I was comfortable with it because I knew it.
Mm-hmm.
Let it go and know that I couldn't do it anymore. That was the hard part. And it was like, okay, now how do I transition the art from the glass onto canvas?
Right.
And I found my art at the very beginning. It was very almost, I don't know how to describe it, like very graphic. It was very, very much like the art that was on the glass. It had thick lines. Um, have you ever heard of Thomas Fedro?
Mm-hmm.
He's an artist down in the States. So it was very kind of, yeah, very similar to his kind of work. And it was, I used him as an inspiration only because his work was very similar to what I was used to. And
Right.
then my work just, as you can see, it just completely changed. I just
Yeah.
found a different voice.
Well, and that's important, right? Like sometimes you need those stepping stones, I think, to kind of figure out, like, I'm kind of stuck. I don't know what to do now. So I'll use someone else as an influence. And then you kind of start to integrate some of that stuff into your own voice until you have your own
Yeah.
vision and you have your own style that's recognizable, right? Which
And it was
is
quite a long,
really where artists want to get to.
it was a long process.
Yeah.
My first painting was back in 2008. So yeah, it took a long
Yeah,
time.
me too.
It's a process. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's part of the fun of it. Like I think part of it is the fun of the journey, right? Of continuing to experiment. I find that maybe I'm just a weird artist, that I like to actually go back. I work in a bunch of different collections, and I do like to go back to some of the collections that were my very original pieces, because I can see that there was something really, really nice and really interesting about it, but it really wasn't quite sophisticated enough because my skills weren't quite there yet, right?
Yeah.
And so I think it's interesting to go back and revisit stuff, not to redo it, but to kind of take it to that next level and kind of elevate all of the collections kind of
Yeah.
as you become more skilled as a
Yeah,
painter.
you do. Yeah. And even just to kind of look at how far you've come, right? Just
Mm-hmm.
that is a good feeling, right? You
Yeah.
go, that I've worked hard and I've made it, and I've come this far, and I'm starting to see my vision come true. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. No, I'm trying to work on that, because it's funny, as I was going through this, you had to do this strategy session of like, what did you do well last year? What are you thankful for? What do you want to do in the forward? And I realized I almost never think about what I've done in the past. I'm very, very forward thinking, which in some ways is great because it allows you to take those next steps and those leaps of faith and things that people think, oh my God, you're crazy to do that. But on the other hand, you don't really properly celebrate where you've come from and the journey and the things you've achieved. So I'm trying to do a better job of that.
Yes. Well, this painting right here, that's one of the,
Yeah.
and that's why I keep it there. I keep looking at it and I go, yeah, it's changed. Everything's kind of changed. You can still see kind of that graphic art
Mm-hmm.
a little bit. It's still kind of,
Yeah, I've got my very first abstract where I kind of had that epiphany with too.
yeah.
And it's interesting because it's very different from the work I do now, but the consistency of the color. Like I can see it. It's yellow and it's orange and it's turquoise and it's strong jewel tone colors, and so it's kind of, I guess I have to say that's where I'm kind of continuing. I have a hard time doing neutrals.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I know. I feel that. Yeah. I feel that. It's hard. I've got lots of color. I don't know. I see things a lot differently. I'll be driving with my husband. I go, oh, look at the beautiful purples in that cup, in the mountains and he's like, purple.
Yeah.
I
do that all the time with this, like with the sun, right? The sunset's like, oh my God, look at all the like beautiful roses and the crimsons and stuff. And then it goes, it's the same as it looked yesterday. I'm like, it's completely different from yesterday.
Why don't you see
beauty of a trained eye, right?
Right.
I remember years ago saying that, most people will kind of identify like 15 colors and art, like red, blue, green, yellow, and artists identify like 1,000 because it's like, well, there's like crimson and there's pearl and there's like all these other different categorizing of colors. So I think that's kind of interesting.
Well, you know the names of them. I can never remember the names. I just know.
I just can't pronounce them. That's why I had to stop because I'm like, is it Puriol, Paroli, Puriol? I can spell it. I can't pronounce it.
The one with the PH in it, right?
Yeah, an OLLE. Yeah, comes in orange and red. I can identify the color, but I cannot pronounce it.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, that's so funny.
So do you have like a favorite color that you just could not work without?
Well, it's funny. If you ask me what my favorite color is, it's red, but everything, it has that phthalo blue in it, which everybody goes, oh, that's such a strong color. Take a time out on it. And I'm like, no, add more.
I know. I think that's where you have to follow your voice, right? Like I feel that too. Like it's kind of, I don't know. Like I always say, like, I do a lot of commissions and people say, oh, I don't like this color, I like that color. And it's like, but I have to warn you that deep magenta and deep turquoise will find their way into your painting. It's like they have a life of their own. I don't know how it happens, but they always end up being there.
Phthalo blue and the purple, the dioxide. See, I can't pronounce it. The purple.
But I know what you mean. I know the color.
Yes, you do. Yeah.
I don't use a lot of phthalo blue. I don't know. It's kind of, I don't know, you have your sort of palette. Well, also I'm having a hard time finding stuff. So I'm kind of right now, it's like, oh, that's a new color I've never seen before. I guess I'll incorporate that into my work.
Fun. Yeah, that's fun. I'm trying to kind of cut back on my color palette a little bit, but there are always colors that you just got to make them in. They've got to come in, right, on their own. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yes. And they do. It does have totally a life of its own, which I do love. Mm. Yeah. Although sometimes I have a personal challenge, especially when I'm working on my small pieces, is that I like to leave no paint left. So what ends up happening is, and I'll put out colors I wouldn't normally use, like a light Naples yellow or creams or parchment or something like that. So of course those are the colors I have left at the end of my painting session. And so it kind of forces me to actually use those colors because I always use my favorite colors first, and then the ones that I don't use so much are at the end. And it's actually kind of an interesting exercise to kind of say, yeah, the palette's going to be totally clean at the end of it, and I'm going to use everything.
Now, if you've got a plate of food, you probably eat your favorites first.
Oh, absolutely. You always have to start with dessert.
Yeah, me too.
I think we're adults. We're allowed to break those rules.
Yeah. Or have ice cream for dinner or whatever you want. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. I don't know. I always think of rules as guidelines more than actually really rules.
Suggestions.
That's right. Yeah. It does get me into trouble sometimes, I have to admit, but sometimes it allows me to do things that you normally wouldn't be able to do.
Yeah.
Right? There's a benefit of that. But I think it's about, well, it's funny, interesting, like, I think there's also that kind of connection about risk, and about taking that step. And I think that just getting back to the mentorships, like I think the mentorship provides you maybe the platform to allow you to take some of those risks, not totally on your own. And I always feel like where I took those big risks, and not all of them worked, so I can't say that it's like foolproof, but typically where I took those big risks was the area that I really saw the leap in my art career, whether or not it was the work itself or the business of it or sales or promotion or whatever.
Well, even if you took the risk, there's something to learn from it, right? And that, to me, that's always forward movement. If you fail at taking a risk, you've still learned something from it, and you'll learn for the next time. So that's mm-hmm. And that's, me and my experience with Mastrius. The minute I signed up that night, I was like, oh, do I keep doing it? I had those second guess feelings, and you just have to push yourself. And I pushed myself through this, and now I don't regret it. I am so happy that I just took that leap of faith and signed up, because it's done wonders for me. Mm-hmm. The community, there's every group has this support, and they just cheer you on. And I found my home. Yeah.
Well, that's awesome.
I love it. I love it. Woo!
Yeah, that's really cool. So one of the other things I saw just looking at your website is obviously you have shows and stuff across the country. So you haven't just focused on Calgary, because we were talking before that each city has its own kind of market. But so I see obviously you did Pirate Square. So very happy that you're part of Toronto. But you're also part of Artwork Studio out in Comox with their square foot show.
Yeah, I did that last year. Yeah.
I don't know if you know that that was actually my sister's studio, and that was the original Art Alchemy.
No, I had no idea. Oh, what a small that is.
I know. I saw that. I thought that's so interesting. Yeah. So she actually had Art Alchemy for many, many years, and so I sort of said that's cool. So I'm going to be Art Alchemy East, and his sisters will run these studios. And then when she moved, she ended up in a space where it had a retail space as part of her home. So it didn't make sense for her to have a separate studio. So she obviously kept the name because we might still do some cool sister Art Alchemy stuff. But
well, I hope to apply again this year when she does a call out. So yeah, I did. I think it was just timing. I don't think I advertised it as much as I could have last year. This year, now that I've got more knowledge and more experience on how to promote, I will be doing it again. So hopefully I get accepted, and I'll just promote the you know what out of it.
Yeah, well, it certainly makes it easier, I think, for these kinds of shows, which are often, collective run or individually run, and you don't really have the big, heavy marketing budget behind it. It's kind of, I think the success of the show is totally the success of all of the artists' contributions, in terms of pushing towards that.
And I do need to give it a little bit of thought, because there was only one piece that actually sold. So when you're talking about different areas, I have to actually think about what I'm going to put in that will be successful out there. So I might try a little bit of water animals. Who knows?
That'd be cool. Like killer whales.
Like killer whales. Or I like to pick the underdogs. I'm weird that way. I like to pick the ones like the coyotes and all the ones that just really kind of get looked over.
Yeah, but I could totally see otters in your style.
Yes. Yeah. I'm gonna write that down. Yeah.
They would be awesome.
Yeah. That'd be fun. That'd be fun. Yeah, I can already picture it.
Yeah, me too.
Head going.
So what's up next for you?
Well, I'm going through my list of commissions. I want to have a series out by the end of April for my website. I'm really kind of focusing on my website and getting my email list up there so I can start communicating with, fellow artists and collectors. What else? And then summer shows. I'll be in some shows. There's usually 2 down in Okotoks. The Elma Street Walk. I have applied actually to Blue Crow Gallery. They've got a call out for artists. So
yeah, that's a great gallery. Jody's fabulous.
Hopefully I just applied, so we'll see. I'm experimenting. I'm just putting all kinds of different things out there and seeing what my next move is. Yeah, I'm having fun.
Yeah. That's perfect.
I have a part-time job too. I work at Indigo, so I sit here in my studio and I listen to books. So I'm kind of killing 2 birds with one stone. So I can still sell books at the store. Yeah. I'm really enjoying.
Sounds pretty awesome. Okay, well, I always like to end my interviews with, if money, time, and everything were no option at all, what would your big hairy ass goal be?
That's funny. We were talking about this just recently. It's not as crazy as I think everyone would think it would be. My goal has always been, my husband and I were approaching retirement. I still, of course, as an artist, you never really retire, but I would like to have a home where I could have a gallery front in my home. And that to me is heaven, where I could sit, I could paint, I could sell my work out of the front of my house. And yeah, it's a happy life. Whereas he'll be on the golf course, I'll be at home painting.
That sounds pretty good.
I know. And I'm, and you know, in my garden, yeah, I'm doing stuff around. Yeah. And that's my happy place.
Yep.
Yep.
Well, that's a pretty great hairy ass goal. So basically just to be really happy.
Yes. Yes. I will use that.
Yeah. Nice and simple, but really big.
Yep. Yep. And yeah, that's just my goal. It just makes me smile.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. Well, I certainly hope you get there.
Oh, thanks, Kate. Yeah. Thank you.
Cool. Okay. Well, thank you so much for your time. And of course, for all you people watching, don't forget you can check out Leslie Starr's work either in person at Art Alchemy on Friday from 7 till 9, or we'll also be online. The store will go live at artalchemy.ca at 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time sharp. And we're hoping that I don't think that we're going to break the internet like Julie Veenstra's shows do, but I really do hope that we sell lots of work because there is some awesome work here.
Well, there's a bunch of us getting together. So a bunch of us Calgary artists that are going to get together and
oh, cool.
Watch the show. So, yeah.
Well, yeah, I was going to do kind of a live opening, and then I'm like, but I don't know if there's going to be lots of people here or not a lot of people, so I didn't want to plan. But we actually are doing a live feed on Saturday at 3 o'clock.
Oh.
Just because we want to kind of give people the opportunity to kind of see everything online and digitally. And yeah, so if you're on at that time and you want to kind of have a few words, talk about your pieces, then I'll probably bring in different artists. We'll kind of play it by ear and see how it works.
Okay, I'll be watching.
Okay, awesome. All right. Thanks a lot and have a great week. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye.
Bye.